Welcome back. Maybe one of the biggest surprises of 2017 was how far and how fast North Korea's weapons program advanced. 2017 saw North Korea greatly increase its nuclear and long-range ballistic missile capabilities. They launched 3 intercontinental ballistic missiles this year, the last of which Pyongyang said could reach mainland United States. And they conducted their most powerful nuclear test ever, claiming it was a hydrogen bomb that they could put on those intercontinental ballistic missiles, which could potentially put the entire U.S. mainland within reach of a North Korean nuclear weapon. All of that has happened despite President Trump mocking the North Korean leader and repeatedly threatening military action.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
So what happens next in 2018? Joining me now is Chris Hill, former U.S. ambassador to South Korea and an NBC News diplomacy expert. Chris, welcome. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year. 2017 saw a lot of ramping up, a lot of heated rhetoric on both sides. But at the same time, North Korea has still continued with its nuclear program, and they, by all accounts, seem to be making progress on that. So what happens in 2018?
Well, I think it's going to be a really critical year because, as you suggest, they have gone further and faster than anyone thought. Certainly, the idea of having a deliverable nuclear weapon, that is, a nuclear weapon that could be delivered on a long-range missile, was felt to be 3-4 years away. And, you know, there can certainly be glitches to this. This may not be a situation where they really have it all, but it's pretty close. And I think we're going to have to decide what we want to do about it. I think the Trump administration has done the right thing to ramp up sanctions. I think that's been critical. I think the latest batch of sanctions out of New York, which has a huge cutback in their energy source. And remember, they don't have any refined gasoline. Gasoline has to be imported, and that's being hit now. So that can be very helpful. That can kind of bring them perhaps to their senses. But I think overall they have made this a question of national will. I think our president has just been completely taken by surprise on this issue. He could not believe that it couldn't be solved. He's so despairing of his predecessors, whether it's Obama or Clinton or George W. Bush, that he seeks no advice from anyone. And I think by the end of 2018, it's not going to look very good, and he's going to have some explaining for the American people.
Is there room for more ramping up, though, without military engagement?
Well, I think the margin of error is pretty small at this point. I mean, if we're going to send bombers up the coast of North Korea and someone tries to take a pot shot up at one of them and hits one of them, it could happen. I mean, that could be these kind of miscalculations, these accidental encounters could be very, very serious. So I'm not sure there's a lot that can be done. Certainly the sanctions, we can keep doing it, but it's not clear that North Korea is prepared to back down with sanctions. So I think a key ingredient, of course, is to make sure China sees this the way we see this. And there's been some progress, mainly due to the behavior of the North Koreans, and in spite of the behavior of our president, who seems to be this is something he can trade for intellectual property rights or something. So I think we have some real work to do. And I think what has been most discouraging of this year, in addition to the fact that North Korea has made so much progress, is the fact that we have a State Department that is just collapsing in front of our eyes. We don't have any diplomacy going. And unfortunately, the worst thing is we have a Secretary of State who doesn't seem to know it or much less care.
And there seems to be no communication between the Secretary of State and the ambassador to the UN. That's another issue. North Korea says it's a pipe dream that they're going to give up their nuclear ambitions. Can the United States coexist with a nuclear North Korea?
Well, I would say no, we can't, because I think it's extremely dangerous, and I think their purpose is not to get into a war with us in the next year. Their purpose is to gradually loosen the bonds between the United States and our allies in Northeast Asia. That is, to create a situation where those allies don't have the U.S. Support and gradually kind of come around to accepting North Korea as it is. And I just don't see how we can accept that situation. And if they succeed in decoupling us from our allies in Northeast Asia, I think it speaks to the issue of our other allies, our other relationships around the world. So I don't think we can really back down from this. And frankly speaking, I don't think it's helpful in the United States when people talk about ideas, well, we need to accept this and then somehow contain it, because what it says to the Japanese and the South Koreans is at the end of the day, we as a country are really not serious about sticking with this issue. So a lot of things to worry about in this coming year, especially that North Korea continues to make progress.
I might just say there's nothing we can do. Ambassador Chris Hill, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.